Hey there, All Things MSP crew. We have another vendor update today, and this is an exciting one because it's somebody who we haven't showcased before. You've probably seen them around because they've been very active in the MSP community, but they really are doing a lot when it comes to what they do in the space. And I'm going to let them explain that in just a few minutes. But without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring up Lewis and Mike from Moovila. Hey, guys.
Hey, Eric.
Hey, how's it going, Eric? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no worries. We love doing this for vendors because we always love getting new vendors in front of the All Things MSP community. And like I said in the intro, you guys are no stranger to that community. And we're going to talk about that stuff a little bit later. But because this is your guys' first time on the show, I want to go ahead and give you an opportunity to kind of give your 2 to 5 minute elevator pitch, if you will, and give us the vision of Moovila.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So the really short answer is we're automated work and project management. And that also sort of bleeds over into resource management. And gosh, probably 8 years ago when my CTO and I first started this venture, we knew that work had to be contemplated differently, like not managed, but maybe programmed and managed. You know, how are we going to get human beings to intersect with automation? And that's done via programming languages, and work should be thought about it in that fashion. So we built a very math-focused, discrete math-based engine to operate work, projects, tasks, scheduling, resource management, because one of the things we learned was that the probability in structured work or project is really, really bad. And, the statistics, I'll sort of quote the statistic. Hey, if you had 20 projects in your portfolio of projects and work, and each of those projects had 40 tasks in the critical path, and your workers on time got their work done 90% of the time, the odds that all that work goes off without a hitch is like 3 times 10 to the negative 37th. Just to put that number in perspective, the odds that the sun won't rise tomorrow morning is 6 times 10 to the negative 17th. So it's like a billion, almost another billion times more likely the sun won't rise tomorrow morning than, hey, these projects that you scheduled, that you think you did a nice job scheduling and organizing, and your team gets their stuff done 9 out of 10 times, like, you got problems. And so we set out to build a tech around that, solve and sort of early identification, risk, and remediating, automating results. I think stepping back a second, the way a lot of our MSP customers have talked about it is, hey, this is kind of like RMM for our projects, right? You're doing the same thing. You're early risk detection. You're increasing our span of control. You're identifying all the nodes, i.e. tasks, like, where are their problems? What should we do about it? How do we fix it? And I think that metaphor works really well for what we're sort of doing in the space. But the really short answer, automated work and project management.
Well, and that's, I think something that relates to most MSPs. They understand what their RMM tool does. And I think that it's important to know that work has changed, and therefore we have to manage that work differently. And it sounds like that's the problem you guys are trying to solve for.
Yeah. And like I said, the term digital transformation is bandied about a lot, but it is sort of this idea of, a help desk ticket might be a single task, but a project or larger structured efforts, that structured work where there are dependencies in those tasks in the process, you're managing those, there may be multiple people involved in those at the same time. That sort of structured work is complex, and you can automate this. And Lewis maybe can talk a little more about this. There are a couple of simple things that you can do. And when you do that, you enable automation, right? Automation in this process, which gives you predictability, accuracy. And I think, the biggest thing is too, that's important, is credibility. We've already assessed the probability is bad for your projects. We can't fix the probability problem, but if we can improve the accuracy, the communication, and the early detection, what that means is you have credibility with your customers. And we're an AI company, have AI and tech, but at the end of the day, the MSP market is going to continue to grow, and it is going to continue to be a relationship business. And it is about having credibility in that relationship. And we've talked to so many MSPs around this issue of, hey, I'm tired of being embarrassed about these projects going sideways or being surprised that they went sideways. And I think that's where we've gotten a lot of customers, because they've said, look, I'm tired of the unpleasant surprise that damages my credibility with my customers.
And it sounds to me like this also would improve the velocity of projects. Therefore, you're getting more done faster and would actually increase capacity as well in order to be able to handle more projects if you're being more efficient.
Yeah, and that's a great question. And I guess I'll throw that over to Lewis, because I think he's got sort of boots on the ground experience with a lot of MSPs on that exact issue.
Yeah, that's a great point too. And Eric, you called this out a little bit in one of your previous podcasts about project fatigue and talking about duration. And sure, it should only take 1 hour, but you're going to need a week to do that because it's 15 minutes 4 times back and forth. And we see a lot of people come in and they're like, we've got projects that are 20 hours that we should be able to wrap up in a month, and they drag on for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And exactly to your point, to be able to have the automation to forecast exactly when those things can happen and when they don't happen on time and they push out, being able to update that quickly so resources know when it's due now and when they can start on it, does help drive throughput of revenue and seeing an increase in project revenue and MSPs getting through their backlog and helping with cash flow and all of those important things that you need to get your projects through and turned over faster.
And that makes a lot of sense. Now, what's interesting to me, and Lewis, you and I have had the opportunity to speak multiple times in the past, and we've talked about the MSP industry and kind of how weird it is sometimes. What made you guys actually target the MSP industry for this type of product?
Yeah, they actually came to us. Yeah, so it was, we're in other markets, finance, retail, construction. We have a big partnership with Komatsu, the heavy equipment manufacturer, and a couple of MSPs came to us years ago and said, oh my God, this would really solve, we're in kind of project hell. This would really solve some problems for us. And so they went through, they saw the product, they saw the process, and they said, but you got to be integrated with our PSA. We can't have duplicate entry. We can't we can't do, we love what you guys are doing. It would totally solve the problem, but we got to have it integrated. So we had to make the decision as a business strategically, look at the market, the process, and go, okay, if you build it, they will come kind of thing. And making that decision going, hey, it's a big enough market. There's a lot of need. There's a lot of pain across all the PSAs. They all do, and you even ask their teams around this. It's not, certainly for mid and large size MSPs, it's nowhere near adequate. So we made that investment to build out those integrations, and then people showed up. So it was great, because sometimes when you build it, do they come? In this case, they did. So, we've been super excited. We've loved the community too. I will say this, and I'll say it a dozen times. I've been in a lot of markets and communities over the 30 some odd years that I've been in tech. I've never seen a community where competitors help each other so much, so willing to help each other. And that's just great, because they all want to share best practices. The rising tide lifts all ships, and a lot of other markets pay lip service to that. But the MSP community certainly, practices what they preach around that. So that's, we have loved becoming part of this community.
Yeah. And one of the big parts of that community is GTIA, formerly CompTIA, right? And of course, that's, Lewis, how you and I met. How did you guys get involved with GTIA or CompTIA back then? And on top of that, what made you double down? Because I have never, I'll just be upfront here, I have never seen a vendor get involved with a community like CompTIA or GTIA as quickly or as in depth as Moovila has.
So I'll let Lewis answer his question, but for me, 30 years ago, I was involved with CompTIA because I had an MSP before there were PSAs and processes, another segment of another business I had. So I saw the value of the organization and the business back then. And the minute we got involved in the MSP community and our marketing team came forward with it, I said, yes, absolutely. I love that group. It's always been respected. It was helpful for me back then. I can see alignment for the things that we're doing. And kind of just loved diving into it. And I think we like the fact that it's a community and it is an event where there's an exchange of ideas and it isn't super vendor centric, right? So you feel like you can kind of get unbiased opinions about where the market's going. Like people seem to be willing to speak, a little more freely and openly. Obviously, Eric, you're involved in it. Lewis, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so just to call it out, I came from an industry that was not the MSP space, and I was hired, thankfully, to Mike had a little bit of confidence in me to be the program manager of our MSP vision here at Moovila, and I had no experience in the MSP space at all. I came from large scale projects in the manufacturing space. And the first month that I was at Moovila, I went to ChannelCon and they started a mentorship program and saw at that first event, oh yeah, we need to be involved in this. And to Mike's point, the sharing of ideas and the value just from 2 days and the different sessions. And Eric's downplaying it a little bit, but I was lucky enough to get paired with Eric as through the mentorship program to be able to say, what's up? What is this industry? This is crazy. And
thank you, Eric, by the way.
Yes, seriously, because how I don't think we would probably be where we are today without getting all of that knowledge and insight so quickly and so easily, right? To Mike's point, all the other industries you don't talk about it, right? You don't share anything, but for how open it was and how quickly the community accepted Moovila and how quickly we saw the benefit, I think that is probably the main reason we doubled down and said, yeah, we need to stay involved with this. And it has continued to pay off for us time and time again.
Yeah. And I think it is that openness and that sharing and that agnostic approach that both GTIA and the vendors adopt when they're participating in the GTIA events or councils or committees or whatever it might be. That really provides that exchange of ideas that you were talking about. Now, we cannot talk about the new age of work and getting things done without talking about AI. And of course, you guys, that's another place where you guys have focused heavily. Explain to me how you guys are using AI in a practical way to help your partners help their clients get things done.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess a couple of things. AI is a really large umbrella, and it's been around a really long time, right? So obviously we all know a lot of the generative tools, which are amazing for broad-based use and process. Because we live in a very specific domain that is structured work, project management, tasks, scheduling, resource management, we have had the luxury to use deterministic AI technologies to deliver specific, discrete answers, right? So when I say deterministic versus probabilistic, right, any self-driving car uses both, is sort of hybrid. And I will say that ultimately tech, is going towards this use of hybrid, right? When you're driving a car, deterministic means you get the same answer from the same question every single time. It's structured. It works really well in specific domain issues, but it can't operate like a chatbot where you say, give me a recipe for an apple pie and who invaded this sub-Saharan nation in 1822, right? It doesn't do that, right? But what it does do is provide consistent, reliable, interpretable results, right? We'll talk about white box interpretable answers. So we employ that type of AI in our project work management and resource scheduling. You ask the same question, you get the same answer, you can interpret that answer, you understand the underlying results. Probabilistic AI, you don't always get the same answer, right? So if you go to a chatbot and ask the same question twice, you might get a different answer. And sometimes it might give you a wrong answer, which is called hallucination, and you don't know why. So we knew that we couldn't live in the space of hallucination and probabilistic around this idea of, is my project going to be late? Is it going to be on time? Why is it going to be late? So all that stuff kind of lives in the deterministic world. We are embedding a lot of the best of some of the new generative technology on the probabilistic side to kind of live in unison with the deterministic tech, right? Because at the end of the day, our motto is work you can trust, right? And you want to be able to trust the answers that you're getting because you're communicating that to customers and others. So like I said, we have some benefit that we live in the world of this domain of, hey, it's about work, projects, tasks, and schedules. That's very deterministic. That's the domain that I'm going to ask you questions about. So that allows us to develop a very sophisticated but deterministic and reliable architecture to deliver those answers. And that's, like I said, can be different from some of the other texts and tools that people will hear that, are generative in nature, which will have a probabilistic tendency.
Yeah, I would just like to add one quick thing to that. You go out and you hear AI, and again, coming from not a tech industry and didn't know what MSP is, we do a really good job of making the AI approachable within our platform and helping people understand that, hey, if you do these simple things, let the automation do the work for you, and really will light up all of that really great stuff that you need in the platform to be able to take it to the next level.
And we talk about supervised automation, right? So we understand in this market, we want to present the answers and say, hey, your project plan is broken, flawed, delayed. You have capacity conflicts. Here are the recommendations we would make. Would you like to do that? At the end of the day, the MSPs want to be in control of that, but we can curate the correct, accurate data and answers for them so they can quickly go through and then automate those updates and that communication. And that just saves a massive amount of time and improves the accuracy, like I said, dramatically across the board. Cuts the time in half or more that it takes to manage these things for these organizations.
Yeah, I would imagine that is a big part of it, where projects get so large that it's hard for a person to go through and visualize a project and see where all the problems might be, whereas AI can go through that much faster and bubble up those potential issues before they get too far down the road.
That's exactly right. Yeah, MSPs don't have projects this big, but as an exemplar, right, a project with 2,000 tasks or 3,000 tasks and 50 interdependent projects with 50 people working on that with their own personal schedules and calendars and availability, that entire network of schedules, process, tasks, dates, process now and in the future, that can be evaluated in a half a second. That would take an individual or a team of people, dozens, if not 100 hours, massive phone, and then the data's latent. By the time they're done, all that's changed because someone's mother needs her hips replaced and he's going to be out for 2 weeks now, right? So that's the other part of why the automation helps is it moves real time with the way the real world works, right? Things change. I'll touch on, your previous podcast that Lewis had mentioned too about burnout. Switching costs are one of the painful things that exist for MSPs. And switching costs are, I was working on this task. Oh, that's not ready. Oh, now I got to work. Oh, that's not ready. Now I've got to work on this. And computers can do switching costs really easy. That's painful for us as human beings. I thought I was working on this. I thought I was going to do this. By accurately forecasting and scheduling, you can massively reduce these switching costs, which takes stress out of the organization. It helps reduce burnout. I'm actually working on the thing today I thought I was going to be working on today. The customer is available. The prior work was done. And not finding that out that afternoon, which is lost productivity, revenue, switching costs. Like I said, the inefficiency of the process does a lot of damage.
Awesome. Well, Mike, Lewis, thank you so much for introducing Moovila to our All Things MSP audience. And if somebody wants to reach out, how do they do that?
Yeah, link. Moovila.com. Moovila.com.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much again. And we'll look forward to doing this again sometime soon.